Ooh, that looks tasty.
I'm one of the greatest adventurers in all the land. Tell me why I should work for your adventuring guild.
Come work for us, you'll be part of the mightiest fighting guild in all the land.
Yes, well, we have just upgraded our guild hall. Now we have a swimming pool, yes.
Come work for me and I'll pay you more money. Forget about those chuckleheads.
Welcome, folks. Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another game review, and today we are talking about Guildmaster, designed by Chris Anthony, with art by Andrew Bosley, Alexander Mikhailovich, and Yama Orsay, and published by Good Games Publishing. And I do apologize for any of those names that I pronounced incorrectly. Now, before I get going, please make sure you turn on your Klingon subtitles, because if I make any errors in the rules description, that's where you'll find the corrections. And let's jump right in. So what Guildmaster is it is a quasi-Euro game in which you are doing a bit of engine building, a bit of blind action selection bidding, and a little bit of worker placement, though I'm using the term worker placement very loosely, and a bit of dice rolling for good measure. The premise behind it is that you are a guild master of an adventurers guild, and you are trying to become the most amazeballs adventuring guild in the world or the country or the city or wherever it is you happen to be. To do that, you're going to be building up your guild hall to make it way cooler. You're going to be hiring more well-known adventurers, and you're going to be doing jobs. Now, if you are not interested in how this game is played and just want to jump into my final thoughts, then you want to go to the timestamp on the screen right now. For those of us still here, let's do a quick rundown of how this game works. The game is going to take place over 9 rounds, and you track that over here, and you'll notice there's this little half moon and full moon, and what's going to happen is each round that's going to flip. And as you go down, depending on the phase of the moon, you will have different abilities that are unlocked. And if you're looking at these adventurers here, you'll see that they have different symbols on there, and that tells you when you're able to use their abilities. It might be one like this, which is in all rounds, or it might be one like this, where it's only in the blood moon, or only on a crescent moon, or only on the full moon. And so that's what that's all about. And what you're going to be doing is, in secret, you're going to be planning out what your guild is going to be doing for that day. And the way that is managed is through your orders board right here. And what's going to happen is, at the beginning of the game, you have 2 orders that are available. You see down here, you have to have built a better stables to get your 3rd order, and an even better stables to get your 4th order. And each player at the beginning of the game will be assigned 4 novices. And these novices are based off of the usual fantasy tropes. Is your guild known for its might, or for its charm, or for its spirit, or magic, or blah, 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 blah. And each one comes with a different set of 4 starting adventurers. They all have different skills, and some of them have different special abilities that you get to use in different phases. And what's important is these numbers on the side. That represents their skill rating in each of the statistics in the game. Here we have might, we have logic, and we have spirit there. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be sending at the beginning, 4 novices out to do jobs. And you're going to choose those jobs. Again, you're doing this behind a screen so no one else knows what's going on with these cards here. And so for each one, you're choosing what it is you want to do. So for example, maybe I want to go building with my 1st order, and then I want to try to hire somebody out on the board with my 2nd order. So I'd place those out like that. Then I would assign a team to go do it. And then even though at the beginning of the game you don't have a 3rd order, we'll just throw out a quick contract there as well, so you can kind of see everything. And then you assign people to go and do it. And at the beginning of the game, you can send 2 of your adventurers out on each job, but as you improve your guild hall, you might be able to send 3 or 4. And for the sake of argument, I'm going to send Jaria here to hire some builders for me. And I'm going to send her with some money. I'm going to send her with 6 coins to go do that so she can buy some builders. Oh, you know what? Let's be crazy. Let's send 7. Then I'm going to send Ephron here to hire a new adventurer. And to do that, I also have to send him with money, because you can't hire someone without money. So I'll give him 8 coins, and he'll take that with him. You'll notice I had to assign my money now. It's not like I can just keep pulling it out of my treasury. And then to do the job, I'm going to send Odian and Yasmin to take care of that particular job that's out there on the board. And then, when I had chosen all of mine and everyone else had chosen all of theirs, we would reveal our screens and we would go through an order. So everyone would get to do their first order first, and you would go in order from left to right across the game board. And I'll pull back and show you that in just a minute. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, what happens if more than one player picks the same thing at the same time? Well, then you have a conflict, and these conflicts are resolved in different ways. When it comes to the builders, what's going to happen is you're going to pick one of your skills. In this case, my best one there is Arcane, and I would roll two six-sided dice. My opponent would pick their best skill, and if they had more than one adventurer with them, they could add those up. So in this case, if I was doing logic, I'd have 4 from these 2 adventurers, but in this case, I only have 2. And they would roll theirs. Whoever has the highest number would get to hire builders first. If we are talking about over here and hiring somebody, it simply becomes who brought more money, because each adventure has a basement value they're willing to be hired for. But if more than one person wants them, well, now it's a bidding war. Who brought more money? And then if both people have the same amount of money, well, then you go to the same thing. You do a roll off to see which guild is fancier. And then when you come to the contracts, and I'll show you how those work in just one second, what's going to happen there is you have a choice. You're either going to, and again, you do this in secret, you decide, do we want to work together? In which case you're going to be splitting rewards. Do we each want to attempt a different aspect of the particular quest? In which case, again, you're still going to be doing some splitting of rewards unless only one person succeeds. Or do we want to compete over it? And if you compete over it, you'll wind up getting to roll separately. But because you are fighting with each other while you're doing that job, it's going to be harder. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but I will show you one of the cards here. So this is a particularly hard mission. It's a legendary one. I would have to, on all of the dice I roll, get a 21. So, as I said, I'm able to roll 4 dice because of my spirit rolls, because I have a spirit stat of 4. Well, it's possible that on 4 dice, I could get a 21. In this case, wow, I did very well. I got a 19, so I failed. But if I failed, nothing would happen. But if I succeeded, good for me, I'd get 6 fame, which are victory points, 6 gold, and a special boon I get to do right here. Now, as I said, you go across when you're doing your orders from left to right. So the first thing that happens is you do anybody who wants to build, and then for every builder that gets hired, they get progressively more and more expensive as you are kind of hiring your day laborers to come do something for you, but the fewer there are, the more money they're able to command. Then you go through and you hire the adept heroes, which are not quite as good, but they're cheaper. And you'll notice they cost different amounts of money based on the phase of the moon. Then you go to the heroes, who are better, and then to the legends at the end. And the only thing of real import, I'll say, is once one is hired, you don't get to flip over the next one until the next round of the game. Then, of course, over here, you'll see there are all the different contracts. And there's 3 levels of contracts. You have your common contracts, your heroic contracts, and your legendary contracts. And those change as they get completed. They get taken off, and you get to replace them with new ones face down, and they flip over on the next round. And the only other thing I want to point out is I talked about the building, and each guild has their guild upgrades. And as you go, like I said, you're upgrading your stables, which lets you get more orders. Your mess hall lets you send more adventurers out each time. And your bar gets you money at the end of each round. In addition to that, you're able to build out various skills. By building an armory, you're going to get to mitigate some of your luck on your dice rolls on a might check or a logic check with a library, and so on and so on and so on. And the only other thing you can build is each guild can build one of these prestige upgrades. And this winds up being an end of game scoring condition. So for example, the training grounds here, for each set of all 4 types of adventurers I have, I'd gain 7 points at the end of the game. And so that's it. That's the fast and dirty of how this game works. So what do I like about this game? First off, I am very enamored with the art on this game. I love the way this board looks, but what I really love is the character art. I think they look amazing, and most importantly, this is the most well-diversified fantasy-themed game I have ever seen. Not only does it have wonderful diversity, but all of the women are dressed in ways that does not remind me of 80s fantasy bikini art, and I just adore it. It is possibly my favorite art of any game that I've gotten this year. Also, special shout out for this guy right here, who looks like Daveed Diggs. I don't know if it's supposed to look like Daveed Diggs, but that's cool. Hamilton's amazing, and David is a lovely, lovely human. So I really like the way it looks. I also have to give a shout out to the player screens. And the player screens, they look nice, but on the inside, they have the absolute best player aid I have ever come across. You can almost just play the game by reading the player screen. That's how in depth it is. And it's easy to read, easy to find stuff. It's amazing. I love it. And then the last bit of production that I'm going to call out that I really enjoy are the coins. Yes, these are just standard coins, but they did something very cute with the other denominations. When you get to 2 coins, it's not just a 2 on there. It looks like 2 coins. You're 5. It looks like you got a stack of 5 coins and you get up to, a bar of gold. I just think that is a lovely little touch and I really, really enjoyed it. Now, let's get out of talking about how it looks. Let's talk about the mechanics. I really enjoy the mechanics. I think the engine building is very light. And by that, I mean there's not a lot of choices that you're making. You have 2 things you're doing on your engine. You're going to upgrade your guild, which will give you more orders or let you send more people or just give you more money each round. Of course, the adventurers are required to go do jobs, and that's one of the ways you make money. But of course, you need money to hire adventurers, so maybe you want to upgrade your bar first. Of course, you can't upgrade anything unless you have hired builders. And so it's got this lovely kind of Euro-like vibe of getting the resources you need and deciding how to spend them to best get more resources down the road. And I think that is very, very cool, especially thematically, because the idea is you are running a guild. It's not even like Lords of Waterdeep where you're just the money person. No, this is like you are the chief admin officer and you are running the operations and you are getting the money and allocating the money, getting the heroes, sending the heroes out and hoping that the heroes aren't stupid and getting in fights while they're out there, which they do sometimes. And they do get in fights while they're out there. Hopefully you have created the best team so they can at least win that fight while they're out there. And it's just so well done tying this engine building to the theme of the game. I really think that is stunningly crafted. I also really appreciate the basic orders system. I like this creating your plan in a vacuum, trying to figure out what the other players might do, and then trying to set up contingencies in case that happens. And I like the ways that each of the different actions you can do have a slightly different conflict resolution, which again, it makes sense to me that whoever can win the skill roll-off gets the builders first because you're pushing your way to the front of the line however you're doing that. It makes sense to me that the person with the most money gets to hire the person first because they want the money. And it makes sense to me that when you're on the job, you have to choose, are we going to work together or are we going to fight about it? And if we fight about it, well, then it's a little bit harder because we are now fighting each other and the orcs or whatever it is that we're trying to take care of. Or you can work together, and that's great. And there's different ways to do that, but you're going to get fewer resources. I just think it's fantastically, fantastically done. And while you're doing it in this vacuum, it is so fun to try to outthink your opponents. But at the same time, it's not overly punitive. And that's because if you ever fail, you didn't bring enough money, or the builders got too expensive, or someone did the job before you. Say I wanted to do job 3 out here on my second order, but someone did it with their first job. Well, now that job is gone. I can't do it. But you're never out of luck. You always have a few private contracts that you can go do, or you can just literally go wandering, which is such a very RPG style thing. You can kind of wander around the screen until it freezes and zooms in and you're fighting something. You can always go wander, find some monsters, take them out, or whatever you're doing, and you will still get something. So you're never doing nothing if someone outthinks you. And I think that is wonderful. And then finally, I like the use of dice. To me, this game feels a bit more Euro than anything else, but it does have a little bit of chance to it because to do these jobs, you are reliant on the roll of the dice. And usually to me, I find Euros are games that they have randomness in them, but you know the result of the randomness before you make your choice. While more Ameristyle games are, you got to roll the dice to see what happens. You do have to roll the dice to see what happens here, but it is highly mitigatable because you can send a team that's going to have 10 dice If you were rolling 10d6, the odds of you not getting a 20 are pretty low. And then on top of that, so many of the characters have ways to give you bonuses to your rolls. You can be building up as you go these skills and these upgrades that you have in your guild. So you can take a die, turning it into a 5. Boom, done. Or maybe you just want to re-roll 2 dice. And so there's a lot of mitigation there. But it still has that little bit of randomness I enjoy. And of course, rolling dice is fun. Go ahead, fight me on that. You can't, because there's nothing more fun than going, oh, wait, what's going to happen? Boom. That's great. I love it. And wow, look at that roll. That is a 10, 19, that's a 21. That's a great roll. All of that I really enjoy. So, what are my quibbles with the game? And I only have a few. And the first one is on the production side. I'm a little disappointed in the upgrades. They're fine. They're very easy to read. I appreciate that. But after all this gorgeous art everywhere else, it's a little bit of a letdown that this is how my guild looks. Even when you compare it to, you have individual guild screens that show you what your guild actually looks like. It's just a little bit of a letdown. And this prestige thing you can build, well, it's not very prestigious looking. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. And then the same thing on these cards. Again, they're very easy to read, but they're just a little bit bland. And I just wish those were a little bit cooler. And I'm nitpicking here. I'm nitpicking because I truly don't have a lot of negative things to say about this game. And here's the second one. The second one is the game can get a little bit mean. And it's not because of you can wind up competing against each other and fighting for something, so I might get it. No, that's not what makes it mean. A lot of times, the bonuses that you get for the actions will allow you to harm other guilds. For example, this one here, if you finish it, you may choose another guild to gain 2 fame. If you do, you also gain 1 fame. Otherwise, pick a guild, they lose fame. And sometimes, if all of the ones that are out there are all ones that have negative effects, it can feel a little bit mean. The penalties are never huge, but it's there, and that can rankle you, especially if you wind up playing a 4-player game and it keeps being you that keeps getting hit over and over and over. And then my other quibble is this is a game that can suffer from analysis paralysis, because not only do you have, especially if you unlock more orders, not only do you have all the options for you, which adventurer do I want to hire? Which team of adventurers do I want to send in case this is contested? Or which team do I need to send to do the contract? Or do I want to go ahead and try to hire builders in my first action or on my second action? Order, I should say. And those are all those options that can get your brain churning and can be paralyzing somewhat. But then you add into it, you don't have no idea what everyone else around the table is doing. So then you're trying to figure out what is it you're going to do and how should I do it? But gosh, what am I going to do if this player does this? But if this player does this, then this other player does this. But then, of course, that might mean this player over here knows that this player is going to do, and it can become a death spiral. So it can suffer from analysis paralysis. The only other thing I'm just going to toss out there is that I really wish there was a solo AI that came with this game. I would play this game solo without question, and I really wish there was an AI so you could make a 2-player game, a 3-player game, or whatever. But that's everything I got. I have to say, I am very, very pleasantly surprised by this game. I thought it was going to be an interesting game, and I checked it out because I have a weakness for all things fantasy, and boy, am I glad that I did. I think this game is wonderful. Maybe the gloss will wear off as I keep playing and playing and playing, but right now, I think this game is brilliant. I think it has just enough of that Amera-style dice rolling to it to keep me excited and have that chance and have those kind of moments where you're like, oh, this is a long shot, I'm going to go for it. Oh my gosh, I did it. I rolled 5 6s and I got the big legendary quest done. Now I win. Like, it has that excitement that you get from dice rolling, but the bulk of it is just you figuring out your plan. And for the most part, again, having a plan that is better than everyone else's. Yes, you might contest a little bit here and there, but it very rarely is going to completely ruin your plan. And I just think this game is great. If you like an engine builder, if you like chucking some dice, and you like a Euro-ish game that is very well themed, then this is a game that I think you have to check out. I think this is a very, very good game. And if you watch enough of my videos, you know I don't use hyperbole a lot. I try to be sparing on that because, frankly, every game can't be a wonderful, wonderful game. And so this is, to my mind, the 3rd or 4th game that I have said hyperbolically, I think is excellent. I think this is a game that's not getting a ton of buzz, and I think it should be. I think, yes, there are some people that maybe it won't be for you, but this game I really, really, really enjoy. And I think you should definitely check it out. So, there you have it, folks. If I made any mistakes in the rules overview, please let me know in the comment or the timestamp. I'll get that into the Klingon subtitles. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.